You bought into the Nevada dream. Big sky, desert sunsets, cheap-looking square footage compared to California. The agent said you were beating the system, that this was where smart money went to stretch a paycheck and start over. For a few months, it feels true. The mortgage clears, the driveway looks good in photos, and the silence at night feels like freedom. Then 2025 shows up with different math. Values that were supposed to drift gently upward start dropping in big, ugly chunks. Whole neighborhoods see asking prices quietly cut and then cut again. Insurance bills land like threat letters instead of routine renewals. Property taxes do not blink just because your online estimate fell through the floor. Listings nearby keep adding phrases like price reduced and motivated seller. This is not some distant coastal bubble. This is Nevada, the escape valve everyone said was safe. Today on Discover the Nation, we are taking a hard drive through 10 Nevada cities where the housing market in 2025 is sliding towards something that feels a lot less like a cool down and a lot more like a reckoning. Some are overbuilt desert suburbs with more rooftops than buyers. Some are casino towns watching their main employers wobble. Others are retirement and remote work destinations, where insurance, water rules, and local decisions quietly turn bargains into traps. If you are tired of being told every desert subdivision is the next big thing, hit like. If you want your next move to be a step forward, not a six-figure regret, subscribe to Discover the Nation so you hear the warning signs before the sales pitch. Let us start the drive. It gets rough fast. Number 10. Fernley. You roll into Fernley just after sunrise, and the quiet feels heavy. Rows of beige roofs, tidy streets, and for sale signs leaning at angles like they've been out there for far too long. This was supposed to be the budget-friendly Reno alternative, the place where you could get a newer house and a smaller payment without sacrificing your future. Now, it looks more like a case study in what happens when optimism outruns demand. Recent market reports show Fernley's median sale prices down sharply from just a year or two ago, with some pockets seeing drops that would have sounded impossible during the boom. That is not a gentle adjustment. That is a market that hit the brakes and slid. Too many new homes were poured into the pipeline, not enough qualified buyers stepped up to absorb them, and a local job base that shrank after key manufacturing layoffs in late 2024 pulled even more demand out of the system. Insurance added fuel to the fall. When flood maps were updated and more of the area landed in higher risk zones, premiums spiked. Some owners saw their all-in insurance costs double in a single renewal cycle, pushing total monthly payments well beyond what they had budgeted. For anyone who bought near the top, the combination of sliding value and rising fixed costs feels brutal. Build quality has become another sore point. A wave of houses put up fast during the 2021 and 2022 frenzy is now aging into its first round of problems. Residents talk about foundation cracks, moisture issues, and corners that feel like they were cut to meet demand, not to stand the test of time. That does not help resale when nearby buyers already have too many options. Fernley tried to market itself as a haven for remote workers, but stories of uneven infrastructure, limited amenities, and strange local budget priorities undercut the pitch. When a city spends money on cosmetic projects while schools and services struggle, it sends a clear message about what really comes first. Would you trade a low headline purchase price for a place where your insurance rivals your car payment, your internet struggles to keep up with your job, and your resale value is already moving backward?
Number 9. Pahrump. Pahrump sounds like a desert fairy tale. Quiet streets, mountain views, room for a garden and workshop, and just enough proximity to Las Vegas that you feel connected without the chaos. On paper, it looks like a balance of rural calm and city access under the wide-open Nevada sky. In reality, it is a crash course in scarcity. Home values here have dropped sharply from recent highs, leaving many owners with mortgages that look oversized for what the house would sell for. The biggest pressure point lies underground: water. New rules on groundwater and wells hit as the last boom peaked, turning big lots and irrigation dreams into a maze most buyers never planned for. Retirees who flocked in during the early 2020s pushed prices up, but that wave is now pulling them down. Facing rising electricity bills, surprise fees, and insurance quotes that feel close to coastal levels, more owners are testing the market and hoping someone will take the keys before the next bill arrives. Builders that rode the wave up did not all make it back down. Some developments stalled halfway, leaving half-finished streets and lone model homes. Others wrapped construction, only to find appraisals coming in under contract prices, sending deals back to negotiations or killing them outright. Empty houses and sun-baked lots tell that story without a sales flyer. The town still leans into its quirky desert identity, with festivals and branding that celebrates its offbeat charm, but none of that changes the math of limited water, rising fixed costs, and a shrinking pool of buyers willing to shoulder those risks. Would you gamble on a discounted house where the resource that matters most is already under pressure, and where your exit plan depends on the next buyer accepting the same gamble?
Number 8. Elko. Elko was built on the promise of what lies underground. For years, strong mining paychecks supported a housing market that seemed to defy its remote location. Good wages meant confident buyers. Confident buyers meant steady appreciation. That feedback loop worked right up until it did not. In the last few years, major mining employers have scaled back. Operations were trimmed, expansions delayed, and more processes handed over to automation. Each round of cuts pulled more demand out of the housing market. Listings that once triggered multiple offers now sit, waiting for a buyer willing and able to commit. Prices have slid sharply from peak levels in a way that feels less like a fluctuation and more like a reset. You feel the shift driving through town. Diners that used to hum at breakfast now have empty booths. Older motels advertise weekly rates that hint at a growing number of people living paycheck to paycheck. The main real estate office windows are lined with properties that have been on the books far longer than anyone would like to admit. Insurance costs have crept up as well. Wildfire exposure, long distances between services, and aging infrastructure all feed into higher premiums. For owners who bought when money was flowing and mortgage rates were low, the new reality of higher insurance and softer prices feels like being squeezed from both sides. The equity they thought they had is thinner, and the cost of holding on is higher. Elko still has its cultural signatures, from cowboy gatherings to events that celebrate its ranching and mining past. But nostalgia does not pay property taxes or reverse a multi-year slide in values. When a town spends more time honoring its golden years than planning its next chapter, buyers notice. Would you stake your long-term equity on a place that depends so heavily on one cyclical industry staying strong? Or would you rather find a market with more than one engine? Number 7. North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas looks like the future from a distance. Fresh roofs, wide streets, brand new commercial strips, and whole neighborhoods that could be dropped into a home catalog. For a while, it was the official solution for anyone who wanted Las Vegas wages without paying full Las Vegas prices. Then the inventory piled up. A huge share of new construction here is now sitting empty or occupied at lower prices than builders projected. Developers who once had waiting lists are instead offering incentives, closing cost help, rate buydowns, and anything else they can think of to move houses. Recent market snapshots show prices down dramatically from the peak, with many owners who bought in 2022 already sitting on negative equity. The job machine that fed this growth is stalled. Logistics and warehousing expansion slowed as automation took over more roles, and some operations shifted to cheaper regions. Households that moved for those jobs have seen hours cut or positions eliminated. Without solid incomes, the demand for all those new 3-bedroom stucco boxes drops fast. Layer in aggressive association rules in some master-planned communities, and the appeal shrinks further. Security systems, camera gates, and strict appearance policies come with dues and fines that can make a supposedly attainable home feel like a constant compliance test. For For some families, the emotional cost of feeling policed is just as heavy as the financial one. From certain angles, North Las Vegas still looks like a rising suburb. The parks are manicured, the schools marketed, the billboards polished. But when you walk the streets and count the empty driveways, price-cut riders, and rental signs, the story feels closer to oversupply and stress than to a stable long-term bet. Would you pay anything close to yesterday's prices for a house in a place where even the builders are signaling they need to discount to get out?
Number 6. Mesquite. Mesquite was designed to sell a very specific dream: golf carts, desert sunsets, calm streets, and the idea that you could retire in comfort without spending coastal money. For a while, that promise worked perfectly. Subdivisions filled with people looking for that final move to warmer weather and simpler days. Now the exit traffic is starting to match the entrance. Home values in Mesquite have pulled back hard from their highs, with many recent buyers watching online estimates tick downward quarter after quarter. At the same time, insurance premiums have jumped as fire risk, wind events, and long-term climate concerns put more pressure on underwriters. Quotes that once felt manageable now land in mailboxes like a second housing payment. Associations are a double-edged sword here. They maintain standards and keep streets looking tidy, but they also enforce rules and fees that many new residents did not fully budget for. Fines for minor landscaping issues, color restrictions on garage doors, and special assessments for shared amenities all show up in community conversations and local complaint boards. Even marquee amenities are not guaranteed. When a flagship golf course or recreation facility struggles financially or changes hands, residents can suddenly find themselves looking at brown fairways or reduced services while still paying full dues. Promotional photos keep using the best angles, but day-to-day life tells a more complicated story. At the same time, essential services are not always expanding at the pace of the population. Concerns about medical access, emergency response, and aging infrastructure hang over discussions of long-term livability. For retirees on fixed incomes, every unexpected bill and every sign of local strain hits harder. Mesquite still offers peace in winter sun. The question is whether those benefits outweigh the combination of falling values, rising fixed costs, and communities that can feel like they are tightening the rules just as more residents want flexibility. Would you lock your retirement savings into a neighborhood where you worry more about surprise letters from the association and surprise renewals from your insurer than about actually enjoying your own porch?
Number 5. Henderson. Drive into Henderson, and at first glance, everything gleams. Gated entries, manicured landscaping, shimmering pools, and luxury cars parked in front of stucco palaces. It is easy to believe this is the part of the Las Vegas area that never loses, a bubble inside the bubble, where values only go one way. Talk to homeowners, and you hear a different version. Recent sales data shows steep price cuts from early 2024 highs, especially in upscale tracts that once assumed buyers would pay anything to get in. That $800,000 property that symbolized arrival is now trading for far less, leaving recent buyers with loans that no longer match current reality. It is one thing to pay for luxury. It is another to pay yesterday's luxury price for today's discounted house. At the same time, everyday costs of living here are climbing. Water concerns and power strain push utility bills higher and have sparked rolling conservation measures that do not feel especially luxurious when they reach your thermostat and faucet. Property taxes edge up to fill gaps in school funding and infrastructure budgets. Associations collect regular dues, then layer on special assessments when something breaks under the golf course or behind the entry wall. Insurance is its own stress point. Covering larger, high-finish homes in a hot, drought-prone region is not cheap, and premium increases rarely arrive at a convenient time. Owners who came from coastal states hoping to save money on total carrying costs can feel blindsided when they stack all the bills together and realize the gap is smaller than advertised. Henderson has experimented with promoting itself as a destination for luxury home tourism and high-end rentals, trying to keep demand up from every angle. That might help a few owners, but it also underscores how dependent the market has become on a constant flow of outside money to justify existing prices.
Would you stay the course in a status zip code if the status comes with shrinking equity, rising monthly obligations, and a growing sense that the local economy expects you to keep paying more for less security?
Number 4. Reno. Reno built a brand as the comeback story of the high desert. Casinos, craft food, mountain access, and a tech-flavored future that would supposedly carry the city far beyond its old nickname. For a while, the housing market reflected that optimism. Prices surged, new builds spread outward, and bidding wars became part of the weekend routine. In 2025, the shine looks dimmer. Local market reports show values down dramatically from early 2024 levels, with some neighborhoods seeing declines that wipe out several years of gains. The employers that were supposed to anchor the city's next chapter have proven more cautious than expected. Tech, warehousing, and advanced manufacturing operations have slowed hiring, trimmed projects, or shifted growth to other states, leaving fewer new arrivals with six-figure salaries competing for each listing. City budgets, on the other hand, still have 2020 boom expectations built in. Property tax hikes approved to close gaps keep monthly payments elevated, even as appraised values start to move down. That mismatch leaves many owners feeling like they are paying top dollar for an asset that no longer behaves like a sure thing. Short-term rental rules tightened in response to neighborhood concerns about noise, parking, and community character. For homeowners who plan to cover part of their mortgage with vacation bookings, new permitting processes, inspection requirements, and limits on guest stays have turned a simple side plan into a regulated enterprise. Walk through downtown and you see both ambition and strain. Sleek new buildings rise next to stalled construction sites wrapped in fabric. Public art projects move forward, while libraries and basic services juggle reduced hours. That tension is exactly what buyers are pricing in when they decide how much they are willing to pay. Would you bet on Reno as a rebound play, or does it feel too much like a market that priced in a future that never fully arrived and is now slowly repricing down to something more ordinary?
Number 3. Summerlin. Summerlin still photographs like a dream. Perfectly manicured parks, palm-lined boulevards, mountain views in the distance, and master-planned villages with names that sound like resort brands. For years, this was the prize zip code of Greater Las Vegas, the place where California money and casino executive bonuses went to sleep at night. Now the polish comes with hairline fractures. As the broader Vegas market soured, some of the steepest drops have shown up right here at the top. Homes that sold for peak pandemic prices are quietly changing hands for far less, especially in newer tracts where buyers stretched on jumbo loans. That forever home equity people bragged about in 2021 is suddenly looking a lot thinner in 2025. The cost stack in Summerlin never really took a breather. Association dues, master plan fees, and special assessments pile on top of already high property taxes and climbing insurance premiums. When values were racing up, owners shrugged it off as the price of admission. Now, with comps sliding and appraisals coming in lower, those same fixed costs feel like anchors tied to a shrinking asset. The work story has changed too. Remote workers who once fled to Summerlin for space and sunshine are feeling less locked in. Some have been called back to offices in other states. Others are simply realizing they overpaid for a lifestyle that also includes water restrictions, brutal summer power bills, and the constant risk of further HOA rule tightening. Each family that decides to list and leave adds one more price-reduced sign to the search results. Drive beyond the flagship shopping centers and golf course views, and you see the shift. Streets of big, similar houses with more for sale signs than you remember, homes sitting longer, and sellers throwing in closing cost help or upgrades just to stand out. The master plan still looks flawless on a brochure, but the numbers behind it are less forgiving. Summerlin has not turned into a ghost town, and it probably will not. But it has gone from being the sure thing of Las Vegas suburbia to a high-cost bet in a market that is no longer guaranteed to win. Would you lock in a 30-year mortgage in a place where you pay premium prices, premium fees, and premium utilities, all while the comps quietly drift down the hill?
Number 2. Sparks. Sparks positioned itself as Reno's smart sidekick. A little more space, a little more family energy, and enough new construction to absorb wave after wave of buyers leaving higher-cost coastal cities. Developers drew up plans, poured foundations, and bet big on a steady stream of demand that felt endless in 2021 and 2022. Then, the stream slowed to a trickle. Current market snapshots show sparks among the hardest-hit parts of Nevada by price declines since early 2024. In some subdivisions, asking prices have been marked down repeatedly, and contracts close at levels that look a lot more like pre-boom numbers than the heights of the frenzy. Overbuilding met a sudden drop in demand, and the gap between them is where values went to fall. Drive the outer edges of town and you see it in 3 dimensions. Streets of nearly finished homes waiting for buyers. Frames sitting under plastic wrap that is starting to shred in the sun. Subdivisions where model homes are still staged, but the sales office receptionist spends most of the day answering questions about incentives instead of handing out reservation forms. Mortgage delinquency rates have climbed as owners who stretch to buy at peak pricing run into higher insurance, higher taxes, and higher everyday costs all at once. Refinancing to lower payments is difficult when new appraisals come in below the outstanding loan balance. That traps some households in place, even as their equity evaporates. Associations in certain neighborhoods have responded by trying to keep everything looking perfect, issuing notices for small aesthetic violations and clamping down on visible signs of financial strain. That may protect curb appeal on paper, but it also increases stress for residents already juggling tight budgets. Would you step into this market now, hoping to catch the bottom? Or does sparks feel more like a reminder that a town built to absorb endless migration can struggle when that migration pauses?
Number 1. Las Vegas. Las Vegas still sells itself with neon and spectacle. From billboards to social feeds, the message is the same: opportunity, excitement, and a lifestyle unlike anywhere else. For years, the housing market echoed that confidence. People arrived with remote jobs and relocation packages, investor cash flowed, and short-term rentals turned ordinary houses into income machines. 2025 has a different mood. Local data shows some of the steepest price drops of any major market in the state since the highs of 2022. In several well-known suburbs and master-planned communities, homes that once sold for eye-watering numbers are now listed far lower and still sitting for weeks or months. Owners who thought they could always sell or refinance their way out of trouble are discovering that the buyer pool has limits. Inventory is stacked. Listings are up sharply compared to a year ago, and the average days on market are the longest Las Vegas has seen since its last major downturn. The energy on the ground feels less like a party and more like a crowded exit where not everyone will get out at the price they wanted. Insurance costs have surged as extreme heat, fire concerns, and infrastructure strain increase perceived risk. Annual premiums on ordinary properties can feel outrageous relative to the home's current value. Water restrictions, power grid stress, and higher utility costs all chip away at household budgets that were built on softer assumptions. Associations in some neighborhoods have gained a reputation for being especially strict and aggressive. Fines for small aesthetic issues, legal disputes over trim colors and gravel choices, and layered fees turn supposed lock-and-leave convenience into a constant background worry. That makes it harder for owners to see their home as a refuge when it feels more like a contract they can never quite satisfy. Look at the skyline and you still see cranes and new developments, but you also see towers with many dark windows and projects that slowed when the pro forma stopped penciling out. Social media is full of tours of empty units and cautionary stories from people who thought Las Vegas real estate could only go one way. Would you tie your financial future to a city built on risk and volatility at the exact moment its housing market is reminding everyone that the house usually wins?
10 cities, 10 warning labels. You have just driven the back roads of Nevada real estate in 2025, and the pattern is hard to miss. Overbuilding, where the buyer pool shrank. Insurance bills that feel like a second mortgage. Job markets that rely on a single industry, a single plant, a single resort, or a single military contract. Associations and local decisions that keep adding costs even as values slide. This is not about saying you should never buy in Nevada. It is about making sure you do not buy blind. If a discount price is the first thing that catches your eye, slow down. Ask what is driving that discount, how stable the local economy really is, and what your true monthly number looks like once every bill, every risk, and every new rule is counted. So tell us, would you live in any of these cities for the right deal? Or does that deal still feel too expensive once you factor in the risk? Share your housing story in the comments. Hit like if you are done believing that every so-called hot market is a safe bet.
and subscribe to Discover the Nation so your next move is driven by research and reality, not just real estate slogans and desert sunsets. Be cautious, be informed, and before you fall for the dream, make sure the ground under it is not already cracking.